What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Daily Energy News Beat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Monday, April 17th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You gotta love it.
Yeah, I love the old school mic. You look like you're back in a control room.
Hey, I borrowed it from Tomcat. So, you gotta love it when you can borrow something from Tomcat.
Absolutely. We have an absolutely wild show. Speaking of it, Stu, you've got some great articles lined up. First up on the menu, now Colorado pushing to ban oil and gas permitting by 2023. Wyoming lawmakers call it ignorant. We can only guess where Stu will fall on this, but this is really sad. This is, in my opinion, the greatest state in the union. Colorado is succumbing to... Stu will cover it all, but it's really sad what's going on, unfortunately. Next up, Europe's energy troubles continue. Hydro and nuclear output declining. Done. If you listen to the show, you know we're big fans of hydro and nuclear, so this is not good news. Next, Germany ends nuclear energy era as last reactors power down. Done. I mean, if it couldn't get any more bleak in Europe, they're just shutting down their only reliable power. They're geniuses over there. Next up, guys, the Biden administration once again is tightening rules on vehicle emissions. We covered this a little bit on our last show on Thursday. It's absolutely insane. Stu will cover what's going on in the EV markets. Next, Texas Senate passes $10 billion plan to develop 10,000 megawatts of gas-fired insurance capacity. I wonder why you need that. Stu will cover what this new bill plans to actually do. And then finally, California's last nuclear power plant, Diablo Canyon, faces closure against lawsuit. This has been such an ongoing battle between activists and the Diablo Canyon and Governor Newsom. It was at one point approved to go offline, then Newsom actually came in and saved it in what seemed like an actual decent policy from him, but now it faces denial again. Stu will cover all that and a bag of chips. He'll kick it over to me. I'll quickly cover how the finance markets ended on the week, specifically for oil and gas, and give a few tidbits about the week, and then we'll let you get on here, get out your way. But before I kick it back over to Stu, again, guys, all of the articles we're about to cover are courtesy of the world's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all of your energy news. Stu and the team does a great job of curating all of these articles and making sure that everything you need is there. Dashboard.energynewsbeat.com, our data and news combined. Get it while you still can. I'm out of breath, though, Stu. Where do you want to begin?
Hey, Michael, thanks for the intro, and let's get ready to rumble. You and I are very partial to Colorado. I love Colorado, but now Colorado pushing to ban oil and gas permitting by 2030. This article came up out of the Cowboy. This came in from Cowboy State Daily out of Wyoming. They are a fantastic reporting newspaper. Please reach out and follow them. Let me read the byline. Colorado anti-fossil fuel groups are collecting signatures for a petition to ban all oil and gas permitting in the state. Supporters say that the measure will protect Colorado's environment, but opponents say it reflects ignorance of the value of oil and gas bring to the world. This is just nuts. And there's an publisher's note here. Let me read this to you, Michael. This is a perfect example of people fleeing California due to the high energy cost and then bringing their failed energy policies and voting practices with them to destroy states. Rather than work with people, they're like locusts destroying everything in their path. When you move to Texas, please leave your voting policies behind. Texas is already seeing this play out in Austin. Oh, I wonder who wrote that.
That's that seems like something you would write. Oh, wait, it's the publisher's note. Oh, wait.
That would be me. So now look, this is absolutely nuts, Michael. Your effort and your software development helped oil and gas operators in Colorado go through the legislative requirements, which not all requirements or regulations are bad. A lot of regulations are good. Don't get me started on good versus bad regulations. But your efforts help get some of the biggest operators drilling permits when nobody could even understand what the rules are. Michael, what are your thoughts? You got some real experience in Colorado regulations.
Yeah, I think you've seen a shift in Colorado to a very onerous permitting process. As Stu mentioned, we got to firsthand work on a project like this, building really an application that helped oil and gas operators break down the SB 150 rule, which was different than what's going on right now. I don't know if it was SB 150. It was one of those SB something, maybe SB 149. But basically, the idea was, if you're going to permit on specific locations, you need to decide whether or not these attributes of the community around are hit. And if they're hit, you have to do a bunch of other things. And this application ruled everything up. And what really that law, not necessarily our application, but what that law forced operators to do is move into this, it's called comprehensive area plans, where instead of getting a permit for one well, because the permit process is so onerous for one well, you might as well permit an entire area at one time in order so that you can do some sort of field level planning. So what everybody in Colorado has shifted to is, they're called caps. You see these press releases from companies like, PDC or press releases from Civitas. And they say, what are they doing? We just got our CAP approved, or whatever the name of their CAP, CAP, comprehensive area plan. It's easier to get, 60 locations permitted up in one batch, because that process is so onerous, because you have to do it on one well. If it's the same as one well. So that's what you've already moved to in Colorado. What this law is going to move it one step forward. And basically it's going to be very tough to get a permit raised. I mean, what's already happening in Colorado is consolidation. You've got two major players there. Or three major players. You've got Civitas, you have PDC, you have Oxy. Something's going to happen with Civitas and PDC. Something will happen at some points. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen in 6 months. They will combine. You will end up seeing Oxy exit Colorado. The question is it to that combined entity? Is it to is it to somebody else? I mean, I've heard the asking price for Oxy's Colorado assets. It's not cheap. I don't think PDC or Civitas could afford that. Now, could they afford that together with maybe another third party? I don't know. But point is, you're going to see consolidation. And I think in 10 years, Stu, what you're going to see is one dominant oil and gas operator in Colorado who's the only company that has an ability to actually get anything approved and permitted. You'll see, and that's where I think this law will lead us.
Oh, I think it's all into a disaster. And what happens is, Cal, we'll go through all that later, but let's all set the tone that you can only legislate stupid so much. And we'll go into the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I love that state, but it is unfortunate what's happening.
Yeah, you notice both of us are in Texas. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Notice we used to be undisclosed location in Denver. Yeah, now it's Dallas.
I'm in an undisclosed location here in Abilene, Texas. So, when you sit back and take a look, let's go to the next one. We're going to go across the pond, and Europe's energy troubles continue. Hydro and nuclear output declining. Michael, Norway's got some of the best hydro in the world, and they are having some serious droughts. But let's come on down in here. Last year, Europe was on the brink of an energy breakdown as Russia gas flows dried up, and most of Europe doubled down on renewable energy. Well, renewable energy failed when the wind stopped blowing, and hydro hit a drought. Oops. They threatened major trade routes in the Rhine. The Rhine couldn't even get refined diesel back and up and down the Rhine, and that's a major thoroughfare. Now,
because it was so low.
It was so low. There were barges that couldn't even get up and down the Rhine. Spain hydropower output dropped by almost half. Michael, that was half, and it might repeat again. Now, Europe managed to boost its wind and solar capacity by 9%. So if you boost it by 9%, but you spend trillions and you cause inflation, what was that 9% worth it to you?
Well, I mean, it's obvious that models that sources and uses isn't going to cancel each other out. I mean, I think the other thing that's unfortunate is what you're seeing is, you know, if you read down more in the article, France suddenly found, I'm reading directly from the article, France suddenly found that years of underinvestment in maintenance on nuclear facilities would have consequences. Emergency reactor shutdowns for repairs and maintenance that lasted longer than expected. So years of underinvested in maintenance, while you win in the short term by not spending the money, in the long term, when you need that base load energy shutdown, they would give anything to have those reactors up and running right now, but they can't because they spent years of neglect because, oh, we don't need it, and virtue signaling on, you know, like Stu said, we're going to throw trillions at wind farms in order to get 9% growth. But now there's a drought, so we're in trouble.
You know, Michael, France has a ballpark of 51 reactors. Of the 51 reactors, 50% were working in 2021. The article says that they're producing 17.5% less than the average for 20 and 21. So, I mean, that is just nuts. That's down 23. So you're almost down 25% of their nuclear capabilities based off of lack of maintenance dollars. You and I have talked about this ad nauseum over the past year. France was the poster child.
We've talked about it ad nauseum, and it makes me nauseous. What's next?
Okay, yeah, let me go get a truffle while we. They're not going to be able to even afford to cook any of that. Okay, let's go around the corner. All right, Michael. Germany ends nuclear energy era as the reactors shut down on yesterday, tax day for the U.S. April 15th, and the last of Germany's reactors shut down. These were supposed to shut down last year, and Greenpeace was really upset that they extended them to get them through winter. And Greenpeace is at the heart of the anti-nuclear movement, organized by a celebratory party at the Brandenburg Gate to mark the occasion.
It just cracks me up. Greenpeace wanted to shut down nuclear, but they wanted to keep it on because they decided it was more important to be hot during winter. I mean, it just cracks me up. Greenpeace wants people to freeze to death.
They don't care. They're funded by Soros. I don't know. Anyway, it's nuclear. We're not going to get to it. Let's leave whether or not CO2 is off the table for this discussion. We got to get to carbon net zero. Great. If we're going to get there, we need natural gas and nuclear. Without those two, we're not going to be able to use wind, solar, storage. You can't use any of the others. So anyway, it will be a very moving moment for colleagues to shut down the power plant for the last time. Oh, it'll be moving when they start paying their bills. All right. We're going to come back around to we're coming back over the pond. We started in Colorado. We went over the pond, and I got a method to our madness here. The Biden administration is once again tightening the rules on vehicle emissions. Michael, you can tell that our listeners are kind of seeing how we're weaving this story together. The White House stated, cars and trucks manufacturers have made it clear the future of transportation is electric. The market is moving. No, that's not true. If you can imagine the White House being truthful about something, no, they're reacting to regulatory issues. And the American people, just watch, the American people don't want a fleet of electric vehicles when they're not ready yet. hey, let's leave the argument of whether or not we need to go electric or not. They're not technologically ready yet because the grid's not ready yet. So, Michael, I'm going to ask you this. Will the American consumer want to give up all vehicles, no trucks, no cars, nothing but a bicycle, and then public transportation?
But don't worry, as a car enthusiast and self-proclaimed car guy, President Biden is seizing the moment, according to the White House statement. He's seizing the moment, Stu. Why be scared?
Anything the man mumbles, talks about, he's got a vision for the United States.
Joe Biden hasn't driven a car in 40 years.
He did, Michael.
Longer than that. I wouldn't trust him behind the wheel of a car more than I trust Sandy, who's sleeping right behind me.
No, Michael. And when you sit back and think about it, he did move the car to get all of those documents in the garage. So,
he almost tripped over him. I'll say this, Stu. I covered this on my solo show on Thursday. We actually went through this article or someone similar to us. It's 67% of all new vehicle purchases have to be electric by 2032. That's an absolutely insane standard. Last year in 2022, we had 9% EV sales. Now, it was 9 or 6%. Regardless of what it is, that's an insane leap. Sure, it's growing exponentially, but then we get into the critical minerals discussion of, do we have enough lithium? Do we have enough cobalt? Do we have enough metals to actually make all of these things? It's going to be interesting. And then can the grid sustain it? That was the other thing that the article that I talked about specifically, Stu, was mentioning. Okay, let's say we even get there. Can the grid sustain it?
Not right now.
But don't worry. Self-proclaimed car enthusiast and car guy, President Joe Biden, he's seizing the moment.
Hey, he can also describe the electric vehicle movement in one word.
Well said. What's next?
Don't ask me to repeat that because I have no idea what I just said. I probably ordered a troglodyte. Okay, let's go over here to now, Texas.
You actually just sent more weapons to Ukraine.
Okay, don't get me started. Okay, Texas, Michael, we both are in undisclosed locations here in Texas. Texas Senate passes a $10 billion plan to develop 10,000 megawatts of gas-fired insurance capacity. Michael, I don't really need to go into too much on this article. The Texas state on Wednesday approved a package for energy reforms, including a $10 billion energy insurance program aimed to store up grid reliability through development of a fleet of new gas-fired power plants capable of providing 10,000 megawatts. Michael, this was Senate Bill 6. However, here's the cool thing. This is a breath of sanity in the world of goofiness. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do find it funny. They highlight Berkshire Hathaway Energy supports this legislation. I wonder why. I wonder why they support a $10 billion energy insurance program to build infrastructure. It is funny. Whoever wrote, they're just So here's my thing. I think there are worse ways to spend $10 billion. I think this doesn't necessarily solve the problem that Texas has with the grid, but it's a step in the right direction. They're going to do again, the goal is dispatchable gas-fired power plants. If this was rolling out if they were trying to pitch me dispatchable wind, I'd be skeptical. So I'll take it here. Do I think this is going to solve the grid problem? No, I don't.
Oh, Michael, I'll tell you what, this is fabulous because Texas has some of the largest wind and solar capacity. We have 2 nuclear reactor locations. We have 4 reactors in those 2 locations. And ERCOT is exactly what we needed. We now have more storage coming online. I like where Texas is going in using all forms of energy, trying to drive the price down. I think it's fabulous.
Yeah, I wouldn't even trust Joe Biden on the ERCOT commission board.
I don't trust a politician, most of the politicians, as far as you could throw them. Okay.
It's not very far.
Let's-
What's next? More nuclear, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You know, I have been fairly critical, all right, really critical of Governor Newsom. I personally think he's a squirrel, but he actually did do a good thing, and he delayed shutting down of California's last nuclear power plant, Diablo. Here's the problem. That's 10% of California's power, and you're about to shut it down. He gets a defibrillator on it. He gains, just as you mentioned in the start of the show, and then he gets it fired back up. And now a lawsuit from these, I'm going to use the word, and this is a family-friendly show, but chowderheads. They're trying to shut it down again, and they don't realize that it's already less carbon than a wind farm or a solar farm or anything else. So anyway, we're taking PG&E to court to make sure California's last remaining nuclear plant is retired. We won't stop until the aging, destructive canyon is closed for good. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, blind mice finds cheese once in a while. All I took out of this segment is that you're voting for Gavin Newsom for president.
I'm sorry, you broke up totally. And I heard you trying to imitate. I heard you imitating our beloved President Biden again, describing his re-election run in one word.
Yeah, that's probably the most cogent thing he said in a couple weeks.
I'm gonna rub.
I mean, it's clear. If I had to gamble, if I could buy Diablo Canyon futures, I would. I think they're going to. I think it's gonna continually be pushed back. I think these lawsuits are only for show, because I think California deep down knows, and these people actually making the decisions, that we can't just shut off 10% of our electricity.
Hang on. Kramer's calling in. Hey, what do you know, Mad Money. Buy. Oh, he says he wants to sell. So that means you got to buy.
We're buying. We're loading up on futures, baby. If Kramer's selling, I'm buying. That's your market tip of the day, folks. And we don't give out investment advice. What else you got?
I'm wiped out. I'm ready to go.
Well, I mean, there's not much on the finance side, guys. Markets on the oil and gas side look to open a little bit positively. 82.52 is what we settled at on crude oil. Set 87.05 for Brent. Looks like we'll open sometime at some point around 82.68. It looks to be a fairly positive week for oil and gas, as we can sustain above that 80 mark. I know a lot of people are hoping this is now the climb to 100. I don't want to say I'm doubtful. I'm just very happy we're above 80. That solves a lot of problems for a lot of these mid-sized producers. I think the other interesting thing to point out is we are seeing drilling rigs fall as oil, and this is, rigs always are 6-week lag behind oil prices. You know what I mean? This is a response to the $65, $60 oil strip price. And now all of a sudden we're seeing $82. Rigs might get fired back up again, especially on that oil side. Baker Hughes released that drilling rigs dropped by 3 this week after falling 4 from last week. Total rig count fell to 457, which is still 55 rigs higher than the rig count was this time in 2022, but lower. But still 323 rigs lower than 2019. So to kind of give you a comparison there, no natural gas rigs. Obviously, this is all the growth, quote unquote, that we're seeing is coming from the oil side. Natural gas outlook doesn't look good as we roll into injection season. I mean, I think we'll go below 2 at some point. It's not a matter of if; it's just a matter of when. I don't think I'll be getting that job at Goldman Sachs anytime soon. So you're stuck with me through the summer, but trust me, I will be on the bull case soon. What do you got, Stu? That's all I've got.
It's going to be a crazy week. Buckle up.
Seriously, buckle up, guys. This is going to be an interesting week. We will keep you up to speed. We appreciate you guys checking us out. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Happy Monday, unfortunately.